Will you put that thing down? Talking about my iPad and the pencil. And I just turned my head and I said, this thing is going to take us out of here. And lo and behold, like less than 12 months, like we're at a new address in a whole new state with totally new experiences. And I didn't know the power of the words then, but I knew the commitment to me doing something different and and how that might impact my life and in the broader orbit impact the lives of my kids and the family and everything else.
Many of us dream of creating a new path, a new career, or just some new life options. But more often than not, they stay just that, dreams. David Jon Walker is a graphic designer of color, educator, and community advocate from Tennessee that is just now beginning a new chapter, all thanks to chasing his dreams. Through his lettering and design works, he strives to express perspective and question messages that are culturally popular with added context to appeal to a wider range of audiences. As the design educator at Austin Peay State University, he shares the importance of design, social, and civic involvement to his students through projects and partnerships. Get ready to hear David's story on this episode of Design Of, where we talk about the extraordinary things that happen around us every day and the people behind them. I'm your host, Justin Ahrens. Enjoy the show.
All right, so I'm David Jon Walker. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a professor and now student. I've been teaching for the past 4 years at Austin Peay State University, which is northwest of Nashville, 40 miles northwest of Nashville. I think it's 5 miles from Fort Campbell, which is, I want to say, is the second or third largest Army base in the country. Grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. Went to undergraduate studio art program at Tennessee State University, which is a HBCU. Went to the University of Memphis for my first MFA in web design. And I met Justin through AIGA.
AIGA is the design profession's oldest and largest professional membership organization, with more than 70 chapters and more than 15,000 members. AIGA advances design as a professional craft, strategic advantage, and vital cultural force. It also happened to be an organization that greatly impacted my career, primarily with introducing me to many of my design friends, who are dear friends today, including David.
Yeah, so this past year, COVID changed everybody's lives, including mine, and I had time to reflect on a lot of life and where I was professionally and personally, and decided to make some big, humongous changes. So I'm currently talking to you from my new home garage in New Haven, Connecticut, where I have relocated and become a student again. And I will be attending Yale. I guess class starts on Wednesday of next week.
That is so exciting. So what will you be studying at Yale?
So I will be studying graphic design. It's a master's in fine art, graphic design, but specifically letter form and typography, letter forms and typography.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get back to that. And we're going to talk about your Instagram and kind of the transformation from the year. And you forgot something that we share. We're both dads. Tell me about your kids.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I left out almost all of the personal life, which is terrible, but which I can't overlook. So I've got a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And so it's kind of funny thinking back on life just in general. And I had my son at 24. I just graduated undergraduate school. And he started this graphic design journey with me. Right? Like becoming a designer, becoming an entrepreneur, and then furthering my career by going to graduate school and becoming an educator. And so now I'm kind of replicating that again with my third kid and taking this big transitional leap, and not now just with one, it's actually three. And everybody is now in this new space and being acclimated, everybody's on this adventure.
Yeah. How are they doing?
Doing great. We got them in schools. We moved to a great neighborhood. So the former mayor of New Haven lives across the street. We've got a current board member that lives across the street, as well as a former alderman.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we moved in, met the neighbors, did a couple backyard cookout situations, and they invited people over so we could further meet more people in the community. My son started running with the track team, so he's like plugged in. He had a summer job, which was cool. And yeah, everybody is settling.
That's so good. So just out of curiosity, I'm kind of living vicariously through you in the sense that I feel, so many people made changes, right, during this last year. So when you decided to make this change, you presented to the kids, like, were they like, yeah, Dad, let's do this? Or, how did that manifest?
Absolutely not. I mean, they were not on the train of let's do this. They were like on the train of, are you sure? Like, you sure you want us to go to Connecticut? Are you sure you're going to make us leave our friends that we haven't seen in a year, and they're about to open school back up, so we'll actually get to reconnect with them? So that was a big question mark, right? How will they transition? Will they support it? Will they be happy with it? What I do know is that children are resilient. What I do know is if you expose kids to awesome things, if there are changes and challenges, that they do know how to adapt and make the best out of those situations and scenarios. Like, we almost got stuck in London last year prior to the shutdown. And if I had not traveled the kids quite a bit, then I don't think the move up here would have been exciting at all. Like, to say adventure would be scary to them. That wouldn't be a word of optimism. It would be one of pessimism. Like, you're kidnapping us from our friends and family. Like,
yeah. I remember that. I was following your story on Instagram. I was texting you. You remember that?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what the hell is going on?
Man, it was like March 13th or March 12th. And it's like, hey, like, we're shutting the country down on March 16th. The borders closed on 11:59 on March 15th. And our flight was scheduled to come in on March 15th at 8:30. And so, fortunately, fingers crossed, it was not delayed. We were like teeth-chatteringly nervous and anxious in the airport to make sure that it was actually going to make.
Yeah.
Because it was a direct flight from Heathrow to Nashville, and it did. And so, thinking about moving them from Nashville to Connecticut and kind of reliving that again, like, hey, like, we were almost stuck abroad. What would that life have been like? So while it's not being stuck abroad, we're making a conscious choice to move northeast.
Yeah,
it is going to be that type of adventure. We're not going to know people. We're not going to have our family, less than 5 miles, from the house. But it's been good. FaceTime and Zoom etiquette definitely prepared them, for this transition.
Yeah.
I mean, they FaceTime their nieces, my niece and nephew and their grandmothers and aunts.
So there's a little silver lining of this. Actually, there's a lot of silver lining in this whole adventure we've all been on around the world.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's dig into a couple of things if you're open to it.
All right.
So you grew up in the South.
Did.
And
absolutely.
You are in a challenge me on this, but I believe this to be true. You are in a profession that is profoundly white.
Yes.
And was that obvious to you, when you were kind of pursuing it? Was it something, that intimidated you or just what was that, how did you get from, deciding to be a designer?
So when I came out of high school and went to college, I started out in the sciences. So my original major was biology pre-med. And 2 years into that, I was just thinking, this feels a lot like high school. My high school was a health sciences and engineering focused program. And so it just felt like more of the same. And I decided then, after my second year, that I wanted to switch my major. So I'm looking at the catalog to figure out, all right, which credits will transfer over and I not lose time. Well, it was between psychology and art. And so I switched my major to psychology, thinking, that's kind of close to medicine.
It's sciencey, right?
Yeah, it's sciencey. More on the philosophical and conceptual side. But I then thought about that and was like, I don't think I want to necessarily talk to people for the rest of my life on their issues.
Right.
Now, what's funny though, the career that we're in is kind of that, right?
Yeah.
It just has a practical sales component to it. Like we've got to push products, we got to push messages and campaigns that help further whatever it is the company or the candidate or whoever wants to put out there.
Right.
So the art program looked quite satisfying. And then once I got over there, I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily want to be a painter. I don't want to be a printmaker. Graphic design made sense practically to me. And so my mom, when I first told her this, she's like, "Oh my God, like you're gonna be an artist? Sure, you want to be an artist?" And I'm like, "Well, no, like I'm gonna be an artist that makes money. I'm gonna be a graphic designer. Like they make posters and logos and websites at the time were like very new, like Flash websites were being made in Flash, and animation was like very big then. And so when I came and told her that, she's like, well, I don't know much about it, but there's a guy at church that does the programs and bulletins and runs the screens and all the stuff for the church. I'm going to introduce you to him. So she introduced me to a guy by the name of John Gurton, and he ran Gurton and Associates, and the church was a client. Like he wasn't an employee. So the church happened to just be one of his clients, and I made the connection and built a relationship. And once I graduated, I did like a small internship with him. And that was my foray into design. Now, did I know that it was super segregated and I would be in the extreme minority? Absolutely not. I went to a HBCU where it's all the students are Black. I was overwhelmingly underprepared to go into the design field.
According to a 2016 AIGA survey, the design agency or creative field is 73% white, with a male majority of 55%, and that female designers earn an average of 6% less across the disciplines. So in short, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Just because the professors there weren't in design, they were in all of the other arts, printmaking, photography.
So they weren't
painting.
Necessarily practicing in the field to prepare you for what sadly was the reality. Still is the reality, probably. Yeah.
They weren't practicing in the field at all. They didn't have the relationships. They were saying, all right, we offer these 2 classes. It was graphic design. Well, it wasn't even graphic design. It was desktop publishing. So I learned how to lay out. I learned PageMaker was the layout software that they had at the time. And InDesign was part of the creative suite, but the professors at the school only knew PageMaker.
Good stuff.
So I learned it was rough. So desktop publishing, and there was an intro web design class, and that particular professor played YouTube videos, and that was it. Like he wasn't well versed in web either. And so when I came out, my purview and focus was on this internship with Mr. Gurton and learning the ins and outs of design through his lens, which wasn't through a BFA, and it was more self-taught and all that good stuff. And so it wasn't until, I applied for graduate school at the University of Memphis in 2008 and got in, and I was the only person of color in my cohort. I was one of 7. And then it just happened to be that year, the National AIGA Conference was in Memphis in 2008. And so I got to attend, and I was like, oh man, it's like all these designers, people that my professors have been talking about before the conference happened. I'm getting to meet these folks, and I'm like, okay, so there's like really nobody else. It's like not that many. And so we had a subscription to print magazine, and Bobby Martin was in, I guess, the Young Designers to Watch issue that year. And so he was leading a breakfast roundtable. And so I signed up and talked to him, and we exchanged numbers, and we're friends to this day.
Bobby's amazing.
So it's a super small community, of folks. As you know, it's a very small community of folks that are spread out all over the country, but doing amazing work.
I don't think that's where we met. I think we knew each other before that. Weren't you at a conference that I think I spoke at?
Yeah, you spoke in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah, you came to speak in Nashville. AIGA Nashville had you come down and speak for Think Tank.
Yeah. Were you with us when we went to midget wrestling?
No. Where was this?
Oh my gosh, we could do a whole show on this. I think the proper term is midget wrestling or little people fighting, one of the two.
Yeah.
But it was in some basement hotel in Nashville. And they told us they were taking us, and I'm just like, what? And it was it was really spectacular. But anyways, we won't focus on that. Well, hey, the reason I bring that up, is that conversation is one that's been going on, nationally,
right,
for a long time, quote unquote, right? And
right.
It's something that, many people just don't realize, right? They don't look around their profession and say, wow, there's not enough women in leadership or people of color or the list can go on. But one of the things that I noticed about you during quarantine was, dude, you just got into creation and creating. And I have to tell you, I've been waiting to tell you this face to face. It is so inspiring to see your work and to see how much you've grown and to see the things that are out there. And I will put your link in our show notes, but tell me what shifted for you last year. And I'm not saying that naively, by the way, but what shifted for you to be like, hey, I'm going to use what I have here to start sharing, messages, how I took it, but how would you describe it?
So I feel like life is a series of interconnected events, right? So let me take you back to fall of 2018. So Nina Stossinger, who is a type designer with Tobias Farrar-Jones in New York, with his foundry, came and did a workshop at our institution. So during the workshop, I got a chance to hang out with her, host her. She did a talk as well about her work and the stuff that she's been working on, typefaces that she's working on and publishing. And I got an opportunity to participate with the students, learning kind of some of the letter form design process. So it was great. We were sketching letters out. We were tracing letters out. We were making iterations using tracing paper and regular paper. And I thought it was great and fascinating. So that workshop was only for, it was just a day. So she was there for a day. We became friends on Instagram, and I didn't do anything else with letter form design after that. I always said, this is pretty cool. I would take a foray into it at some point. Let's fast forward to 2020, pandemic hits, and spring break ends. Spring break ends from the London trip, and I'm given a week to transition my classes from in-person to virtual online sessions. So I switch all that stuff over, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so my routine is different. I now don't have an hour drive to work one way and an hour drive to work back. And in the midst of all of this, I'm thinking about things that I'm not necessarily comfortable with. So I had an old website. I was not publishing my design work, right? So since I had an old website, I wasn't putting any work on it. Since I wasn't publishing my work to my website, I wasn't really talking about my design work. Or if I was talking about it, it was just one-to-one like this, where if you ask me, well, what are you working on now? And I say, well, I've got this logo project, but you may never see the logo project. I'm only talking about it. And then I figured, well, I've got time. I need to figure out something in design I can get into that I've been a fan of that won't be a heavy lift or burden, to take a chance at, like very low risk. And then really
just because of time and you had a lot on your plate and just wanted something to, start flexing that muscle a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with a 2-year-old at the house, well, at the time, yeah. He was one, and in 2020 he turned, he turned 1 in January of 2020. And so, it had to be something that I could get into that wouldn't take away from my responsibilities at home. And that was also like kind of therapeutic, right? Like everybody was having a tough time adjusting to being at home, not being able to go out or go to the coffee shop or call your friends up or go to a restaurant or bar or whatever. So this was a way for me to kind of dig in. So I decided, well, let's tackle those, what I felt like were my personal and professional inequities. And so hand lettering, I ended up landing on hand lettering based on what I thought back to, thinking about the exposure to Nina Stossinger. And I guess before you came to Nashville for Think Tank, we had Dana Tanamachi and Mary Kate McDevitt come in for a student design conference. And so I heard them speak and saw their work. And over time, they've done amazing things in their careers. And Penguin Books, Random House, all kinds of stuff. And they publish books. Like, it's just amazing. But nonetheless, like I looked at my iPad that my university had given me, and it was still wrapped in plastic. Had an Apple Pencil still in the box wrapped in plastic. And I'm like, all right, well, let me see what this is like. I downloaded Procreate and just started sketching stuff out. Well, before I started sketching stuff out, I started posting work to my Instagram feed that was like politically charged based on whatever was happening in the media. And so then I decided to do this 15-day hand lettering challenge. And that just kicked it off. And so from there, it's been like every day. If it's a conversation if it's a conversation between me and my kids, something I hear on television, there's a in life for whatever whatever may come up. And so a lot of the stuff that I've been lettering about has been based on either real life experiences or stuff that's happening in the world that has an effect that I may have an opinion on.
What did that experience do or give to you, or what was that like, being able to work that out through typography?
Well, I never had a formal typography class. Like even in graduate school, I didn't have like type 1 or type 2. Like I read about it through Ellen Lupton's books and others, but I never had like formal training, and I never really dove into drawing letters out and actually understanding the way that they emote or can emote. And so with the urgency of how fast and the speed of society, like the conversation in society is shifting every day. Whether it's about voting rights, whether it's about Black Lives Matter, whether it's about Asian hate, whether it was about climate change, forest fires, natural disasters, and more. Like every day there's something that comes out. I mean, even now, like I've not posted anything about the Afghanistan stuff, just because I feel like it's a very, very sensitive topic. And then having been a professor near a military base where the number of militaries, well, I mean, it was a very, very high population of military veteran students or military connected students. I've not posted anything about that just because any opinion can be taken the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So it can be really, really touchy. And not being a military person, complete respect and regard for, folks that serve. But nonetheless, yeah, whatever it is that I'm lettering, like I want it to be either a sense of urgency to create a conversation, or a sense of urgency to just think about the message. Like it's not meant to be confrontational. It's not meant to shout, scream, or anything else, but really if you want to have a conversation, I welcome the conversation, or you can have the conversation with somebody else. But as long as it's something that makes you think about it, that's where I feel like the impact is. I mean, because all of this stuff is debatable. Like there's not a right, there's not a wrong, there's what you think or what you haven't thought about. Yeah.
It's interesting. I feel in some there's definitely right and wrong, but I hear what you're saying. Well, let me dig deeper, since us men have a hard time sometimes being vulnerable. Absolutely. So emotionally, when you're doing some of this, was this cathartic for you? Was this like a way to like channel just some of the energy, whether that was anger, joy, sadness, whatever?
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up. Like I've not really channeled a lot of angry posts. And most of them are kind of positive or encouraging, or they're just like ruminations of whatever. And so, yeah, there have been times where I've written, like I've got one that I hand lettered, I guess maybe 2 weeks ago, that said negative people fail first. And I didn't post it. Like, I don't know why I didn't post it, but I think based on where it would have fallen in the line of the images, I figured, well, it wouldn't be great to add that to the curation of the feed. But yeah, it's always a range of emotions. I mean, the thing that's mostly freeing about it is that it's not client work. It's not driven by the initiative of somebody else, and there's not a pointed end message that it has to be. And so while I'm working these things out, I'm able to think in real time, like, all right, well, how do I want it to feel? Does it need to be funny? Does it need to feel important? Does it need to feel like more like a everyman kind of thing? And those are the moments that I struggle with the most in figuring out what it is, right? Like some things deserve a script. Some things deserve a serif. Some things deserve a sans serif, whether it's condensed or extended or tall. It all emotes in very, very different ways. And then you dig into the color, which gives it its own meaning. Mm-hmm. I mean, because people interpret colors in different ways. And so,
I love.
It's not.
I was sorry to interrupt you. I love when you film your process and you show where you started. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad you made those decisions, because that would have been awful. You know what I'm funny, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like some things, like the proportions will be just poor. Like, and it's funny, like I'm learning on the fly, and my eyes are being trained in such a way that, and I'm sure as you look, like from the beginning to kind of currently where I am now, the informality to now formality of the lettering, like it's become more sophisticated, and just based on how often I've been doing it and the refinement of getting accustomed to looking at proportions and looking at scale and size and the counters and white space of the lettering.
As a dad, and what do you hope the work that you're doing, and just some of the, some people would look at it as risk, some people would look at it as adventure. What do you hope as a dad that your kids are seeing from you?
Gosh.
From this work or from this move, or,
That's a good question. So at this point, my 2-year-old, before he goes to bed at night, will ask me to color. And he'll get on my iPad, and if I unlock it for him, he'll play around in Procreate, and then he'll jump into like Netflix to watch a show. If I don't open it or unlock it, it will just go to the Notes app. And in that Notes app, with the Apple Pencil, you can choose colors, you can choose brush sizes and all that stuff. And he's learned to do that. And he'll get on there and scribble and make what looks like a semblance of a letter. And he's having a great time. So it's good for him to see me have fun in that way. Like, he's not attaching this work, or he's not attaching these projects, these self-directed projects, as work. Now, the older two are seeing it more as like a commitment to doing something that's not work. Like, it's work, but it's something that you want to do on your own. And what I've been talking, because they've been asking questions about it, like, well, why are you doing this? I'm like, well, I just want to learn this thing. You don't have to learn stuff at school. You can learn stuff on your own. You can either read or dig deep or do research and find yourself in another scenario that will take you to the next thing. And so I remember one evening, my partner, she's probably gonna hate me for saying this, but I was early in the hand lettering journey, and my little one Dash was kicking around in the bed, and he's like, I forget what he was doing. He was like throwing pillows off. She's like, will you put that thing down? Talking about my iPad and the pencil. And I just turned my head and I said, this thing is going to take us out of here. And lo and behold, like less than 12 months, like we're at a new address in a whole new state with totally new experiences. And I didn't know the power of the words then, but I knew the commitment to me doing something different, and how that might impact my life and in the broader orbit impact the lives of my kids and the family and everything else.
All right, so let's reflect on that. How does that feel right now?
Man, crazy. The reason I say crazy is because I spoke that into existence. right? Like if I say it's like when you tell the kids, don't say you hate vegetables when you're eating dinner. Because if you project that now, when you need to eat vegetables at our ages, you don't want to be averse to taking care of yourself. And so me saying this thing's going to take us out of here, and it didn't just take us like down the street. Like we're in a different region of the country, in a prestigious program, in a neighborhood.
Dude, you're going to Yale.
No,
yeah, I mean, come on, let's go. I can't wait to come visit you so I can get my Yale T-shirt and pretend I'm going to Yale just for a few minutes.
You gotta come on up.
If you could give, young David some advice from the perspective you are now, right? What would you tell yourself looking back?
What would I tell myself looking back? That's a very great question. Looking back, I would say, don't take yourself too seriously. There's time to do what you want to do, and make sure to take inventory of the process that you're currently in, so that you can not necessarily predict your future, but understand the direction that you're going in and why. So that if you want to make a change, you absolutely can make a change.
I love it.
And then I would also tell my former self to like invest in Apple and Google
Zoom and Uber. Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
It's funny. I thought about that when, you and I were texting back and forth during the NBA finals, when they had him during COVID. And I remember thinking that time, man, just 6 months ago, if I would have invested in Zoom, I would be like good,
Right. Like exponential growth.
Yeah. Thank you, David, for your inspiration and time. I can't wait to see more of your work and what lies ahead for you. For more on David and his work, check out his Instagram at David Jon Walker, DavidJonWalker. I would also like to thank Sleeping at Last for providing our show soundtrack, now in its 7th season. For more on Ryan and his music, please go to sleepingatlast.com or search for Sleeping at Last wherever you get your music from. And to Design Hub's audio engineer, Steve Wick, whose lifelong dream was to attend an Ivy League school.
It's pronounced colonel. It's the highest rank in the military.
It's pronounced Cornell. It's the highest rank in the Ivy League.
I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did making it. If so, please give us a ranking on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Tell others about our show and stay tuned for the next episode. Please follow us on Twitter at Design of Podcast and check out our site at rule29.com/Design of Podcast. See you next episode.